Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from Magoo Investing. Welcome back to this episode of Robinhood Top Stocks. Today we're going to be switching things up a little bit. In the past, I talk a lot about these incredible growth stocks, stuff that I'm looking at buying that could have 30 to 40% potential in a year. Today we're going to kind of scale that back a little bit, and today we're going to be talking about Visa, ticker symbol V. And so Visa is very different from many of the other companies that I've talked about just because it's been established for so long. Part of the point of this channel is when you're investing with a little bit less money, it's important to try to outperform the market. When you have not as much money on the line, you can afford to be a little riskier because you don't have as much money to lose. Visa, on the other hand, has just been slow and steady for the past at least 10 years. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about just kind of how Visa works as a company overall, talk about some of the pros and cons about investing in it, and then kind of take a deeper dive into the discussion about risk versus reward in investing and trading. There's a lot of different ways that you can be trading and investing, and I think Visa is a good example of some of the more conservative aspects of investing. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit that like and subscribe button, as it would help my channel out a lot. Also, if there's any companies that you're watching for the next weeks, for the end of the year, let me know in the comment section down below because I'm curious to see what people are watching. So doing research for this video, I was really shocked to find out that Visa and MasterCard are similar in the fact that they don't actually issue their credit cards. And so when I first saw that, I was really confused because every time I've had a credit card, it says Visa at the bottom of it. And doing some more research, I figured out that pretty much what Visa does as a company is it facilitates transactions between the consumer and the merchant, or between another consumer. And so kind of the best explanation I can think of is talking about a real estate agent. And so a real estate agent just kind of brings the two together, helps facilitate a deal, and then when the money gets transferred back and forth, the commission gets given to the real estate agent. And thank God it's not 6% on your Visa credit card or debit card, because that would increase the prices of a lot of things, but it's just kind of how it works. Visa doesn't have their hand in lending and is not prone to the risks of fluctuating interest rates. And so that's kind of a good transition into why Visa has been such a beloved company for so many years. And that's kind of the idea that it's been dubbed recession proof. And so I've talked on this channel a lot about finding places to put your money if you're worried that the stock market may go into a recession or just the economy overall. And Visa is a great place for that. And kind of the reason it is it doesn't deal with any lending, doesn't have to deal with interest rates, and they have a huge market overseas. And so if the US market starts to slide and slow down, they're not dependent on having good interest rates to make money. All they're doing is they're licensing out the Visa name and facilitating transactions and just some other data aspects of their company. And so they're not as dependent on just kind of how the market's moving overall. One of the craziest stats I saw is that during the peak of the past recession back in 2008 and 2009, when most companies were just sliding like crazy, Visa actually posted a 10% year. And so that's kind of crazy to think about. It was kind of not something I was really expecting. Based off of the charts, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Visa kind of slid a little bit last December when the market fell overall, which is pretty expected. But seeing that it actually had a 10% year when the unemployment was at its highest and kind of the recession was full blown, it was kind of crazy to think about. And so unlike most videos where I spend a decent amount of the time on the charts kind of talking about what I see, Visa is very different in the aspect that it's just been slow and steady for years. There's not a lot of crazy price movement. There's no earnings that's going to come out and just push the stock lower. Actually, I'll throw the earnings up right here. They've actually been super steady with their earnings, and it kind of makes sense with the company that they've been running. The chart just shows that it's been slow and steady, and it's just been having pretty good returns over the past 20 years. However, this is a good transition into talking about risk reward and investing. And so why would you pick Visa over some other companies? And the whole reason is if you're very risk adverse and you're maybe in the later stages of your investing career and you just want kind of a solid return with a little bit of dividend, Visa is very attractive. I kind of think about Visa and PayPal as being very similar companies. Visa has been around for years, whereas PayPal is kind of the up-and-comer, kind of similar to Square, but I've talked about that in prior videos. I think that PayPal is far superior. But they pretty much do the same thing, except for PayPal is almost exclusively online. And so when you put up the charts between the two, you can see that PayPal has been outpacing it in growth, just kind of just the market change overall. But Visa is just so steady in its market. In the future, I expect PayPal to grow by 25, maybe 30% in the next couple years, and I don't expect that from Visa. However, if the market does fall, I expect PayPal to get hit pretty hard, whereas Visa, as we've talked about, is pretty risk adverse when it comes to a recession. And so there's a million ways you can start investing, and it really depends on what type of goals you're looking for. If you're looking to be kind of more active in your trades and try to outperform the market like I am, Visa is not the stock I'd be looking at. All right, and with that being said, let's hop on over to the computer and talk about Visa, ticker symbol V. Actually, before we get started, there's 2 videos in a row, I almost forgot about this. I gotta say that I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and I'd highly recommend talking to a professional. Someone can find you the best places to put your money going forward. All right, now let's go to the charts. So here we are back on Robinhood today. We're looking at Visa. As you can see, it has a 91% buy rating on here with 44,000 people owning the stock. When we go down here, it has a dividend yield of 0.58. So obviously not super impressive, but it's better than nothing. 91% buy rating, 6% hold, 3% sell. As you can see, they've steadily increased their earnings over the year, and it appears like they have exceeded expectations from the market every time. And so their next reporting earnings, January 29th after hours. So as we go over here, here's the chart. Yeah, it's pretty steady. Normally when we go and look at the charts, I kind of come in here beforehand and I just chart out some important zones that I see. And looking on here, it's kind of hard to chart zones when it's pretty much just been steadily going up. Sure, we can come over here. We'll go to the shorter time frame. I'm sure we can chart this. Has an important level to break. We'll get that, and then we'll call this a zone as well. But not a lot to really chart on here, just for the sheer fact that it's been doing so well over the years. But one of the important things I wanted to kind of show over here is just how steady it's been, and then when you overlap it with something like, let's just figured out how to do this today, so I kind of wanted to show it off. Compare with the NASDAQ composite. So as you can see, it kind of has the same motion as the NASDAQ, but as I talked about it kind of being recession proof, you can see how when the market fell from October to December of last year, how much larger the fall was for NASDAQ compared to Visa, where it's kind of just a moderate decline, nothing too crazy. You can especially see it in these last couple days when the market was falling 3% at a time. Visa was pretty steady and then recovered. And so when you're looking at something like this, it's important to notice that it's not outperforming the market. And so for a lot of people, that would kind of be a deal breaker because they're trying to outperform the market. Why wouldn't you? You can make more money. But kind of the reason that you don't want to do that is for someone that is trying to be risk adverse and they're trying to just have a steady stream of income. So maybe someone that doesn't want to spend a lot of time looking at charts or looking to find something that they can reliably put their money into now, and then 10 years come back and be surprised that, oh, I have more money than when I started. And as you can see from the track record of Visa, this looks like a pretty good stock for doing that. It has been the definition of reliable over the past, and it's just great like that. And so comparing this to a stock like, let's go to MasterCard, because I found out that MasterCard also works pretty much the exact same way as Visa. As you can see, very similar chart. And then when we go to studies, add study, compare with custom symbol, and let's put V on here. You can see how almost identical it's been between the two. So this video is going to be titled for Visa, but this is pretty much the same for MasterCard. Their companies are almost 100% the exact same. They do the same thing. They don't have credit cards, don't have to deal with interest rates or loans. All they do is transactions. And as you can see, they follow pretty much the exact same pattern over the years. So this can go for pretty much either of the companies. We'll remove this. And I got TD Ameritrade kills me sometimes. All right, remove comparison line. Okay. So that's MasterCard, and if I just said, oh, this is Visa, and kind of blocked out this MasterCard symbol at the top, you'd be like, okay, I agree. That sounds good to me. With that being said, let's go see what the professionals have to say for Visa. So as you can see, it's up 37% year to date, which is pretty solid. Just kind of has to do with the fact that the market recovered incredibly well this year after the terrible second half of the year last year. And so the price forecast, they have the median at almost 13%. This is kind of the price target I was looking for, something between 10 and 15% if it's a solid year. And then even their low estimate of 187 is also pretty conservative, and I agree with that pretty heavily. The high of 139, if the market continues to push up like it's done, I think that's totally realistic. There's some of these price forecasts that I see on here that it's up like 55% on the year. and then they expect it to go up 80% next year for their high estimate. Doesn't really make any sense. For this, a company like Visa having a very nice year of 32%, still within reach considering that they did 38% this year. So I kind of agree with them on this one. For companies that you're looking to take a long-term investment in, it's really nice to see that even on the low-end estimate, they think it's still going to be positive. As you can see, the buy rating on here is incredible. 28 buys, 5 outperforms, 1 underperform, and 0 sells. So pretty much all the analysts are bullish on Visa overall. And then Yahoo Finance, for some reason, has it neutral for long-term, but they have it as a buy, near fair value, down the short term, up in the medium term, and they have their 1-year price target at 203. So let's go onto the charts and take a look at that. Oh, we're on MasterCard. Back to Visa, ticker symbol V. And so they have it up here. So that's not that out of reach. It's still on the charts, so we're not that far off from it. I think that's a totally realistic 203. Let's compare it to here. And yeah, so they have it as the median here. So I talked about how I agree with them on this one, and I kind of agree with Visa as being a fantastic long-term investment. You're not going to be outperforming the market most likely just based off of how the company works, but for a reliable long-term trade, Visa or MasterCard, you can pretty much interchange the two, seem like pretty good plays overall for a long-term investment. So overall, Visa is just a solid stock. There's not really much else I can say there. Most of these companies I look at, I'm charting out all these important zones where if maybe the market fell or bad news or bad earnings hit the stock, I'd be looking to buy. Visa, I don't see it coming down to any of those levels anytime soon, and that's kind of why the stock chart looked pretty open when I showed it. Visa is just the type of company where I expect it to continue to rise over the years, and I don't expect some crazy 20% drop because maybe they remove their CEO or they had bad earnings. That's just not the type of company they are. And so as a result, not a great buying opportunity for Visa based off of it being a discount, but just as a company, I think that it's a pretty decent buy. It's not going to be making you 25% in 1 year like I've previously mentioned, but it's going to be slow and steady, plus that pretty small dividend will be helping you out in the long run. Visa isn't the type of company where I'd be looking to swing it for a couple weeks or a month and get a decent profit off of it. It's something where if I put it in my portfolio right now, I'd probably be holding it for around 10 years just for the fact that it's been so reliable, and I've talked about how it's pretty recession proof, and being risk adverse after we've had this incredibly long bull market so far could be a decent idea. It's just not the type of investing I'm looking for right now, and so I'm going to kind of push it to the side, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there that would love to add Visa to their stock portfolio. So let me know what you think about Visa overall as a company, as a stock, and if you're holding the company right now. I think it's one of those stocks where you kind of put it in your portfolio and you kind of forget about it for a couple years, and it's probably going to be profitable in a couple years. So let me know if you have any of these shares, and let me know what you're watching for the end of the year. And thanks for watching this episode of Robinhood Top Stocks. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Thanks for watching.